Hi, my name is Mark, one of the pastors at Trillium. Last week I was talking about how the Greeks divide stories into two basic types, comedies and tragedies, stories with happy endings and story with sad endings, especially for what we might call the protagonists, the champions of the story, the good guys in a sense. What happens to them at the end of the story? If it's a good ending, a happy ending, then it's a comedy. If it's a sad ending, a kind of destructive ending, then it's a tragedy. And this understanding of story has influenced our way of experiencing pretty much every story in life. We're living under its influence. It got me thinking whether the Jesus story is a happy ending or a sad ending. Is it a tragedy with sad ending, or is it a comedy with a happy ending? And of course, it depends where you want to end the story. There's something in science called an event horizon. It's that point where you cannot see beyond. A perfect example is a boat going across the ocean. And it can look out for quite a long ways, but eventually, where the sky and the sea mingle, the curvature of the earth prohibits those in the boat from seeing any farther. So they don't know what's on the other side of the event horizon. It could be another extension of the ocean, or it could be a beautiful island waiting for them, or maybe a new continent. It's just hard to know in that moment because you can't see it. And it seems to me that sometimes we come to event horizons in our life we can't see beyond, and so we're tempted to write our epitaph in that moment. Or if we can't see beyond the horizon of a story or a situation, we prematurely end it. And in the case of the disciples, that's exactly what they do with the Jesus story. They end his story at the cross because they've come to an event horizon. They cannot see beyond death. And so they can't imagine that there's still one more scene to go, the resurrection. Israel had this kind of experience. Around 587 BC, they were surrounded by the Babylonians. They were besieged for a couple of years, and finally the Babylonians managed to break in. They sacked the city, destroyed the temple of God, and carted a huge swath of the people to a foreign land far away. And it looked in that moment like Israel had suffered a mortal blow. That if we were to write the story of Israel at this moment, they were enduring a tragedy, a sad and destructive ending for themselves. A few days ago, we had a South Africa day because my wife's from South Africa. And inevitably, the movie Invictus comes on because the movie Invictus is about the first year of Nelson Mandela being president of South Africa. Invictus means the unconquerable or the unconquered. It means someone who has not suffered final defeat in life. And that's exactly what happened to Nelson Mandela. Mandela had been arrested in 1962. He had been charged ultimately with crimes against the state. He had been given a life sentence. And for the next 27 or so years, he languishes in jail from 1964 to 1991. When he was at Robben Island prison, which was the majority of his time there, he endured an incredible hardship, a brutal place meant to destroy him. And he had this poem called Invictus that he would read with some of the other inmates there. They would read it over and over again to themselves. I won't read the poem to you right now, but if you get a chance, go take a look at it because it's a powerful poem. The poem is really about the indomitable spirit. I will not write my epitaph too soon. That's what the poem is committed to. I will not write my epitaph before its time. See, it's often tempting in our lives to write the epitaph of our lives in totality or any particular event too soon because we often come to event horizons. Like Mandela, we might find ourselves in a situation that we cannot see beyond. It's true, Mandela could not see beyond Robben Island prison. He could never imagine that someday he would be president of South Africa. It would have been tempting for him just to curse God in jail and die, if not physically, spiritually, and morally. But he made a commitment to himself and to some of the other inmates that he would endure, and he would not write his epitaph too soon. Israel was tempted to write its epitaph because they had suffered that mortal blow. No one came back from this conquering and defeat in life. No other nation in all of history has ever come back the way Israel did. Yet they languished beside the rivers Euphrates and Tigris in a foreign land for 70, 80 years. And then they hear the words of a prophet, Isaiah, telling them not to write their epitaph, that God has something waiting for them on the other side of the event horizon they are experiencing. And of course, that's true. So the next time you and I find ourselves in a really tough situation and we're tempted to write our epitaph in life, or even for that moment, and because we can't see beyond it, because we have an event horizon that we can't see over, let's agree that we're not going to write the epitaph. We're going to let God write our epitaph. And the promise of God has been to us in Jesus. And his final ending of the story is the promise to us too, that God will write the epitaph, the final epitaph of our lives, the ending, and it will be a good one.